Hey everybody, thank you for tuning in to another episode of I Only Ask Because. Host Tony and my co-host Dr. E. So let's get right into our first topic. Dr. E has something she's been sitting on that she wants to discuss. So would you go ahead and tell them what we're talking about today?
Absolutely. Thank you. As a culture, are we supposed to ignore the iniquities that we see every day between different groups of people? I only ask because.
Okay. Well, um, I think it just depends on first of all what lens you're looking through, and I think we all have a different lens that we kind of see things through. Obviously, no one is going to have, and I mean, there are hundreds of millions of people, billions of people on the earth, and no one's ever going to have the exact same perspective as the next person. Now, I do think it's kind of like the Venn diagram, was like the two circles. You have a lot of overlap with certain demographics on how they see things, and then an opposite demographic, whether it's men versus women, black versus white, Indian versus Chinese, whatever. You'll have just things that they can see very little on, that they're kind of the same, but then on the outskirts, a lot of the times they'll see one end and then the other side will see something totally different. So it just kind of depends, I think, on again your perspective, where you come from, because a lot of it's just based on your life experience. So here in America, there's a reason that a lot of people, when Tesla was first coming out with the Model S in 2013, people didn't like Elon Musk because he was a rich billionaire and he was a liberal and all this stuff. And then when he flip flopped, all of a sudden, these people that said they never drive an electric car love their Tesla, and Elon Musk is the greatest person to ever live. So,
Well, I can appreciate that point. I guess my follow-up question then would be, do you think there are certain segments of society? So you took it global, let's bring it back just to the United States. Do you think there are certain segments of society that have a more myopic view of I don't know, daily events? Um but I ask that because, lately I've been paying a little bit of attention in the news. There have been some tragic things that have come up. One, of course, being the high profile just slaughter, on the streets of New York City of the CEO of a major healthcare corporation. And some of the after effects of people choosing sides between, well, health insurance, they're full of crooks, so of course he should have been gunned down, which I vehemently disagree with, going on record to say that. At the same time, I definitely see issues firsthand as well as researched issues in terms of the gap between the profit that healthcare companies are making and that their CEOs are bringing in relationship to how often they deny claims for your everyday average person. And so, when I say that, we can, so we're talking about differences in socioeconomic positioning, for example, but we can also talk about in terms of like racial issues, right? So to take it back, I guess about 5 years, an incident where a young gentleman, I want to say he was like 17 or something, high school dropout, um, took an AK-47 to a Black Lives Matter rally, ended up shooting three people, killing two of them, and was able to basically skip up the street past SWAT police officers, and no one stopped him. No one wrestled him to the ground. Most pointedly, no one shoot him. And then maybe a month or so later, be invited by the president of the United States at the time, who happens to also be our current president elect. So, inviting this person who clearly has killed people. I don't remember how much money he raised online. And then, fast forward to a gentleman who was just killed on a subway system in New York because he was acting out, or I forget the exact terminology, but the gentleman who killed him, who took his life, was just tried and acquitted by, I suppose, a jury of his peers. I understand that there was only one African American person on the jury, and of course, the victim was African American. Okay, so why am I bringing these two topics together? Because maybe a week or so later, our president and vice president elect invite this gentleman who clearly has killed someone, and has been exonerated, I would say, by our justice system. They invite him to sit in their suite for the Army Navy, football game. Now, I am not saying that I should be able to say, or even you should be able to say, anybody should be able to tell someone who is and isn't invited to their suite for a football game. What I am saying is, it seems to me that as a culture, we are being asked to ignore blatant favoritism for people who have clear disdain for certain parts of our culture. Again, are we supposed to say something about it? Are we supposed to pretend that we don't even notice? That's really the question that I'm asking.
Well, I think a lot of it is none of these things are brought to our attention. And you see this even with people getting rid of or trying to get rid of history books in school that show America in a distasteful light. Even with the Christopher Columbus thing. And what you're saying is a lot of people, even on party lines, are, I think, choosing their race over what is right. Even people like Bill Maher, who you'd expect to, always just do it. I watched him growing up, and until the past few years, I was pretty, well, partially because I'm so busy, but also just because some of the things that he's been saying, I feel like, are kind of going out of left field. And again, you see the same thing with Elon Musk, just with people kind of following, and I don't even know, I feel like consciously they know, but subconsciously they don't see the importance in what they're necessarily doing. I think, obviously, for somebody who is, I think I watched Chris Rock SNL sketch or whatever, and he was talking about how, I think his monologue or something, and he was talking about Elon Musk and how he's literally the richest African American or something. It was something just hilarious because he's literally African and he's American. And, you're really just starting to see how people are going towards, it's really hard to explain. It's interesting because so many people who you expected to have sense are all of a sudden acting like they don't have it. And I don't know if that is, again, intentional or if they're just seeing things from their little bubble. And everybody has a bubble if you think about it. You have a bubble, I have a bubble. We just know what we know. So if you see things that are, let's say if you're looking at somebody and hair is the most important thing, but then religion is the most important thing, or the second most important thing, or vice versa. A lot of people are like, I really go with this when it comes to that. But if all things are considered equal and then this is up here, I'm going to go with this. And I think that's what you're seeing with your Bill Maher's, your Elon Musk, a lot of people who tend to lean more liberally because of, it's kind of like a right and wrong issue, but now it's to the point where it's, oh, this could cost me money, or, I think that minorities are getting too much power, or XYZ. And it is kind of scary because that's really what causes divisiveness, is people who have nothing to worry about trying to think that they are basically less than us. And we're over here trying to mind our own business and do what we're supposed to do. And they're like, you know what? They're getting a little too good at this. I think we need to go ahead and dial back and make them seem crazy. So that's kind of what I get out of it.
No, I mean, I agree with you. And I think, you really can